Yes, recording in progress. All right.
Yes. Welcome to
I'm Paul
Pandooradom.
Cradle. This is my co-host Miles Gray. Yes, welcome to Pandooradom.
Yes.
Both did a dual intro.
Yes.
So
Great to see you,
go ahead,
Paul.
Miles. You too. What did you want to speak about today, Miles, in general?
Well, there's always plenty to talk about. Of course, I do want to, as usual, give some kind of disclaimer before we begin that, as you can probably tell, I'm sitting in a guard booth and I will be visibly distracted at times because I'm keeping an eye on the incoming and outgoing buses at this lot. So don't take it as a sign of me being inattentive. Just know I'm doing my job.
We'll try to have a Raggedy Ann doll in the background. There's nothing really
Oh
going
yeah,
on
there's the
here.
Raggedy Ann. Yeah, I remember her.
Where shall we begin? General discussion of past television experience or
Yeah, that's what we had
YouTube.
talked about. Let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. So, Paul, can you tell us, me and the Pandooranauts, a little bit about your background experience in this field?
All right, this is kind of crazy. When I was in
That's what we
at the
want.
end of sixth grade, the school had just gotten something called Channel One. Are you familiar?
Channel One, yes.
My you have watched Channel One news.
Yes, I've heard of Channel One news before. It's a phenomenon.
Did you have it in school?
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure.
You do. You remember that. All right.
Well,
So
it's a ways back, yeah.
our school district were Channel One schools, and so they had just gotten that at the end of sixth grade, and so there was basically mandatory news watching. But okay, at the end of sixth grade, it was shown like something like after lunch, or there was a period called announcements, like during announcements, they would show it, right? So it was like a 12-minute school newscast where
Right.
they had, I believe, 2 or 4 minutes of commercials, probably. Oh no, it was probably like, yeah, four minutes in total, maybe two-minute commercial breaks. Now that is insane. I always strongly objected to seeing commercial advertisements in a public school. It just, as soon as I saw it when I was like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid in sixth grade, it just really did not sit well with me. But there was nothing I could do. I was thinking of writing a letter to the editor about it. I just don't. I'm a kid. I don't want to see advertisements in school. I just hated it. And so, but the weirdest thing is that this technology that they installed in the schools, which was basically just like a school-wide closed circuit TV, okay, and they fed in channel one through a satellite dish that was recorded on a VCR in the school at like sometime in the dead of night, and then played that school day. So it was basically like yesterday's news presented to that morning.
Right.
So when I was at the end of sixth grade, I signed up for, like, I just wanted to try stuff. You know, as a kid, I wanted to try plays or whatever. I was in the drama club, you know, stuff like that. And so I just wanted to try out for the school news team, right?
Right.
Well,
We're
because of
talking about like
I
old
think,
school audio visual club. I mean,
oh yeah, oh yeah,
this is that
you
era.
got it,
That's amazing.
you got it, you got it. So and we can get to your experience too. So I wanted to sign up for this, you know, and I mean, I didn't know. I mean, it was not a strong want or anything. I just wanted to try things. Okay, so yeah, I myself along with seven other kids, I believe it was, were we were accepted or chosen, I guess is the better word. We were
Chosen.
chosen for the school news team. And we didn't know this exactly at the time, but the school would be changing its entire kind of attitudinal format starting the next year. It was changing, for one thing, it was changing to a middle school, and as opposed to a junior high. And so things were being changed around and shuffled up, and they were trying new things at the same time that this school news team was starting. So I believe it was the first, so I was selected, and so we had that whole summer to think about it. And so, I had things going through my head. I was a kid, like, I didn't know what we could do or not. I thought maybe we might be able to do feature stories or whatever. And in fact, maybe we could have. We never did. I'll get to that. But so we had the whole summer, and then the school year starts, right? And now the format, every daily schedule has changed. That seventh grade year, they changed this a little bit because it was so weird. I think somebody must have objected at least a little bit. Had some sway. So the first 35 minutes from like 8 a.m. to from 8 a.m. to 8:35. Maybe there was a break from 8 to 8:10, but basically 8 to 8:35, we had this class, like period, called advisory, which was basically like what used to be the announcements period that was just kind of tucked in after lunch or something. This was like a substantial period, not including the initial break. It was like at least 25 minutes of what could have been class time, educational instruction was taken out of the school day for 12 minutes of channel one. And then from the AV room, the school news team was on, and they actually called it with the I guess I can give this away. Sounded like FCC call sign WOCO.
Wow.
WOCO. But this is on the air. It's not on the air. It's just like you don't need call sign. It's like the whole thing was pumped up beyond what you could possibly imagine, and we were put on right after Channel One, which
Sorry,
was
Paul. Can
a
you
souped
repeat
up
the
professional.
beginning of the sentence? Can you repeat the beginning of the sentence for the audience, because you got a bit jumbled there, connection wise.
Okay,
Can you
so
repeat
I
yourself
can,
from the beginning of the sentence?
if I can remember what I said. Anyway, so it was right on. It was right after Channel One, and we were on, and it was really pumped up beyond belief. I think is what I said. And like we were pumped up to the point where it was like we were supposed to look like Channel One. And actually, the guy who was running it, get this. So it's like news productions, reading and writing. You know what? He was not an English teacher. In fact, he was kind of a dubious kind of teacher at all. You want to guess what kind of teacher he was?
Tell me.
PE.
What?
For some reason, the PE teacher was the
Ah,
AV director, and it was on a PE teacher to run the school news.
that's classic. That's
That's
classic.
not even that's not even the funniest thing about it. This guy, I saw him. We had like some kind of Commodore or something, like a computer. This guy couldn't type. I
Yeah, not
know that.
uncommon for that era though, too.
Yeah, but I
There's
mean, come
nothing
on.
like
You're
a
gonna read.
dodgeball expert to run the audio visual club, man.
Yeah, but so just basically to give you the idea, we had selected these 8 kids, and since the whole format of the school had changed to be, they said it was all self-esteem building format. And supposedly, this school news team was supposed to get us pumped up about ourselves. And,
Did it?
and well, that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe it did. And I'm not sure that was good if it did. And that's another thing. He gave us an all year hall pass.
Excuse me,
for
sorry. Go
work
ahead.
related to huh?
No, I hear you. I'm listening. Sorry, I had to let a bus in through the gate.
Yeah, it was an all-year hall pass for work related to the school news team, which is like, what? Like, what is going on in a middle school anyway? So, I think that because
I
of
can
my
feel the high school cringe of it. Oh,
middle school, middle school, and I can get
middle
into
school.
high school. Yeah, but it affected me, I think, into high school. But I'll get into that in a second. So,
Is that why you're the way
uh,
you are?
I'm sure it was during a developmental phase. Yeah. So, so,
We were talking
so
about
there's
Winnicott,
these
so
so there's these 8 kids chosen, right, to be on and we were supposed to be, I heard, like role models. Okay. And I don't doubt that we were popular like automatically, So but the weirdest thing is like every freaking morning, every morning, do kids like no? Like, why doesn't the principal just get on to read the announcements? Or and the weirdest thing is we were selected all year, and
for
why
some
don't they give
reason
other kids?
I'm imagining in my mind a kind of Breakfast Club ragtag group of
Oh,
kids, but
exactly.
I can't
Breakfast
imagine it was anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. Years later, I saw Breakfast Club, and I actually did make the connection.
Oh,
Weird that you
really?
mentioned
Oh, interesting.
because
Okay.
because our deal was actually the opposite of the Breakfast Club. We were like,
So dinner club.
what? Yeah, it was like undetention or something. The Breakfast Club was being punished, right? We were somehow being like pumped up and told we were good or something, but we weren't. And it was like, well, it's like we were, but that's only, I mean, maybe that's good for girls. So there were 3 dudes and like 5 girls. And one of the dudes, like another dude of mine was like a normal guy, a friend of mine, did well in school and stuff. I mean, that's kind of the reason they chose us. Articulate, did well in English and stuff. And
Paul, can you
so,
speak a little louder?
oh,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
project
So he,
so we can all hear you.
so yeah, so this guy isn't just a normal dude, and but then they had this 8th grader who we were starting 7th grade. They had the third dude was an 8th grader who was like just weird, man. I'll tell you, he had a mother who was ill, and I knew that because my mother and maybe my father had known her or her husband, and they knew that she was a crazy woman. She was on meds and stuff and mental health. So this kid, for some reason, he started to make it a thing that I was a nut, because so it was typical during that school year. I would walk in and he would say something like, "Hi, Paul, have we taken our meds today?" And
Oh man,
it was just like it was
that
this
really is an
running
80s movie.
joke. Yes, yeah, there's this running joke orchestrated and coming from him, right? That I was a nut. And you know what? To a 7th grade boy, it's fun to be a nut. Of course. I didn't ever I don't and I just went along with it that I was, crazy. Because aren't 7th grade boys anyway? I mean, if you pick one who's different, creative, zany, whatever. But anyway, my point is, I'll tell you more about it. There was also this period that they added to the end of the day, which was like 40 minutes. 40 minutes at the end of the day. We had this period called flex, which could be used for different, it could be like a study hall most of the time. The other kids could have various clubs they could go to on like a Wednesday or whatever club day was. They might go to another classroom and have a club. We were in the, guess it, wait for it, AV room
Oh yeah.
every day. And and this guy, this PE teacher guy, uh left. He was supposed to be there supervising us, but for this 40-minute class at the end of the school day, which, by the way, before that had usually, that was like a 40-minute period that was just taken out of all the other class times. We had like 9 class periods, man. And the class periods were 41 minutes each. 41-minute classes, including PE, where you had to take a shower and all that, which left virtually no time to do anything in PE, but really no time to do anything in any other class except sit there and wait for the next class. And I figured out that my brain at that time was like, I don't really want to get too absorbed in this class because it's not worth it. I'm just going to wait for the bell to ring. And that's basically all I did, like the 9 times during the day. So anyway, this guy would just leave the AV room and leave 8 kids there to basically, all we ever did was just hang out and be weird and stuff like kids would, but it was like undetention every day. And unlike the Breakfast Club, we were just getting worse and worse and weirder and weirder.
So
Okay.
you didn't have that story arc, character development towards some kind of
No
improved
epiphany.
social we'll say improved
No.
social coping towards
Yeah,
the end of the film.
yeah, no, there was no epiphany, and there wasn't supposed to be. We were already chosen kids, right? So we had this period, and we were
Wow,
supposed
yeah.
to be preparing the news. I think maybe sometimes we wrote a script or something, which was basically like the announcements. But we were it didn't take. Oh, I was on, I think, from the second day of school. I think they put me on first. And guess what I did? I read the wrong lunch menu. And so I was the first kid on this new thing. And my first thing was like just a mistake. And I heard this other kid later told me, like, don't you just want to crawl in a little hole and die or something? And people were like after it, all these people in the kids and even the teacher in that AV room just looked at me like they were just looking at me to see, because like they couldn't make the headlights. They didn't All they could do was first just look at me and try to figure out how I was taking it or something. And what am I supposed to do? So I just didn't. I was like, well, I'm okay. But actually I wasn't. That will screw a kid up, won't it? The thing is, why couldn't they just rehearse, pre-record, maybe don't go on live during the first week or two? Do we need it? Come on. I mean, this could mess kids up. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's why I'm so weird. But the thing is, and this weird 8th grade kid, man, he was also into video equipment. So for some reason, we would have live shots. And this kid had like microphone cables, right? Like spools of microphone cables that he had figured out how to carry video on somehow. He was like the engineer in UHF or something. And
MacGyver.
so he plugged these mic cables into video jacks and stuff, did all this weird stuff. So he hooked up a video camera, like typically a couple of times during a week or something. We would have like several, like 100 yards or something of this microphone cables down the hallway, doing some unnecessary live shot from some spot in the school. Like, what the hell, man? One of them I remember was like from a Christmas tree in the school cafeteria. And this kid loved the attention. we just loved it. And I remember, like, he was a weird kid too, so he would get picked on. I never really got picked on. Everybody just thought I was psycho or something. So, but and I didn't love the attention. I never really wanted to be on, except I kind of did just because I wanted to try stuff. It's like I did and I didn't. So,
Yeah, I can
and they would, and
understand that.
they would leave, they would leave it on. We would have the cameras on in the morning, and most of the TVs in the school, including TVs where kids were waiting, they'd gotten off the bus and they were waiting to go to their lockers and stuff. Were being held in certain like holding areas. TVs were on there too, and they would often see us kids in the AV room. You know, a seventh grade boy is gonna fool around with stuff. Like he might show his mouth or something on the screen.
Oh yeah,
I
all
would do
the
stuff like that. Yeah, and
hijinks
so
and
I
all
must
that.
have been being watched sometimes when I didn't even know. And one seventh grade social studies teacher marches in one morning and says, "How can I get that off my screen?" And some other kid, I think it was the eighth grade kid, says, "Just turn off your TV." And so she said, "Yep." And then she went and turned off her TV. And I think most of the teachers we weren't supposed to know. According to us, it was mandated that they turn on their TVs and watch us all the time. And in fact, I think technically they weren't even
Sounds like
technically
a
they,
takeover. Like
so
1984, you install yourselves as the evil overlords.
yeah, basically, see, Channel One was mandatory, right? So we were supposed to be as mandatory as Channel One. And Channel One had some power back then. If like 80% of the kids weren't watching that, they would send out letters and like legal letters because they had signed agreements with school systems that your kids better watch these ads. And so, so basically, we were supposed to be as mandatory as Channel One, but I hear maybe the teachers figured out how to
But
turn
you
off
didn't
their
have, but you
TVs.
didn't have all the ads behind you, though, right? On
We
your
didn't have
channel,
ads.
of course.
All we had was, one of those typical school desks, school tables that this PE teacher put some kind of drapery around so that the girls, if they wore skirts, wouldn't, you know. And so there was that, and our backdrop was just minimal. And the VHS camcorders that we had plugged into the closed circuit were actually pointing above us, pointing down. When you're on TV, you want to be a couple inches above the cam to look authoritative. No, so following Channel One, here they turn on us, right? Looking down on us like dingbats, right? I even heard we were just considered dingbats. Might have sounded impressive, to be on the school team and everything. No, we totally looked just goons on screen. And so we figured out how to have two cameras set up where this eighth grade kid figured out. He brought the equipment. He brought a video switch so we could switch between two sources. So we had two cameras, but it wasn't gen locked or anything. So the frames were out of sequence. So we had like some kind of quick vertical scroll, like the screen would jump a little bit every time we switched cameras, but we still did anyway. So so and then the T
Project,
some yeah.
project.
Oh, so sometime later, this kid, we told, like, maybe it was the next school year even, they finally got around to telling us how to improve, maybe. And they said that your newscast looks like a ping pong game because I was one of those kids. I especially just kept switching cam one, cam two, cam one, cam two
Oh
over and
yeah,
over
yeah,
again
yeah.
every time somebody else spoke, you know. And the whole thing was so amateur, so underproduced, so unprepared that yet so pumped up
It's
to
a
us,
classic though.
so so pumped up to us
But
that
I just want to sort of interject here though. There is a market for that today that is absurdly amateur as it was at the time, and it was. There is a market in our own day at least the kind of cult following of this genre of failed early television. I mean, this is not early television actually, but you know, like lost footage and school news, audio visual club type productions from random middle schools in the 80s and 90s. You know, you have internet mystery channels and so forth where they feature this kind of footage. And so what may be cringe to us in looking back to it memoriously is actually gold for people today on the
If there's any,
internet who hadn't even been born yet. I mean, for them, this is a kind of treasure trove of a lost
exactly,
world.
because that wouldn't exist now. That wouldn't exist now.
Exactly.
There might,
Exactly.
I don't think there's any surviving
Paul,
VHS.
could you put
I
your face back in frame? We're just looking at you, your eyes. It's
yeah,
very
but I'm
creepy.
gonna, but my voice though,
It's
I
back again.
I
Now it's your forehead.
I know, but I have to speak into the mic. Sorry, because
Oh, that's
other
why
people.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, I can get close, but I
Because
gotta
we
get close.
have this massive close up of your forehead.
Just let me see if I can just. I'll just stop video so I can get
No,
up
no, I
close
didn't
to
mean
the
to
mic.
make you self-conscious.
No,
Well,
no,
what do
no,
you expect, Miles, telling people about their massive foreheads? I didn't
no,
mean to make you self-conscious
yeah, no, but no, I'm not. It's
or
just
your
that I
forehead
gotta
self-conscious.
no, but I gotta speak into the mic.
Yeah, I know.
So the thing,
I understand that. I do have to
right?
forewarn
So
you though, Paul. We only have about a little more than 5 minutes left
okay,
before time.
yeah. So the thing is that this thing, if there were any surviving VHS recordings of this, it would be gold now. But the thing is, it was always live, and
Right.
even Channel One itself, any remaining records are scanty. I only found maybe a few episodes existing on YouTube. They're all taken down from the former Channel One website, and
Oh,
for good
really?
reason. And I remember I remember it was and Channel One for some reason it was in schools where and it was supposed to be serious news, but I noticed that on the few videos that I looked back on, it was all like MTV teen, catering to a teen attention span and with the graphics and everything. And the hosts, the anchors were not really news anchors. They were so casual. It was like they were supposed to be cool role models or something. And so where was I going with this? It was basically the whole thing. Like Channel One years later would become a pariah. Like schools didn't want it. Teachers didn't want to have anything to do with it. And And unfortunately, our school news was just like an extension of Channel One, which is really sad because there's no reason that school news can't work if it's run by an English teacher and someone with, it can work. Like I understand there's no reason this can't work, but at that time there were many, many, many reasons why it was just bad. And so I'm trying to find the humor in it. And yeah, we mentioned high school. The thing is, I was so relieved when I eventually that's another thing. I quit like with a month or two before eighth grade was over. I quit the school news team. So it was like nearly 2 years. But I found that when I quit, nobody cared. And on
Yeah.
top of that, on top of that, when I quit, it was good because I got to join the drama club and stuff instead of just hanging out with those dingbats. But there was something, it was like this was supposed to be a coveted position or something. Like we weren't like if we got bad grades or something, we might be taken off the school news. It was like towards the end of
Right.
eighth grade, it was like, I don't want to do this. And the guy was just like, it was another guy the next, it was a science teacher the next year, still not an English teacher. I don't know why, but the science teacher says, well, okay, Paul, where do you want to go? You can just go back to your English class. It's fine. Go to your, which would be your homeroom. So yeah, I just went back and then I got to go to the drama club and stuff. And, we just read plays and whatever on that last class period. And I didn't have to hang out with those dingbats. And I wish I never had. I wish I had never done that school news team.
Oh,
And
really?
I think, oh, I wish I never had, of course. And
Interesting.
then, yeah, because none of the other kids liked it. And I talked to a childhood friend recently, and he said nobody cared about it. It was just like sometimes they'd say, "Oh, yeah, I know that kid," or whatever. But it was weird. Like, why wouldn't they have kids on a rotating basis who basically just get to read the announcements on CCTV? Like, who cares? So, like, why wouldn't you rotate the kids? Why did they have to make it out to us at least as if we had some kind of special position in the school, as if maybe we were somehow part of the school itself more than the other kids or something? It's totally just absurd stuff. It's almost like socialists. I don't know, but propaganda or something. I hate my association with it. And I didn't know at first that I wasn't supposed to like it. It just ended up that I hated it. And I just dropped out of it. And I was happy but nobody cared that I wasn't in it. And I just went to the drama club. But the unfortunate thing is that by the time I got to high school, I was so relieved of not being involved with rinky dink crazy stuff like that I just didn't do anything in high school. And that's the problem. I was so relieved that my high school was not my middle school that I didn't do anything. Now, the thing is, it feels good to be relieved, but then that shouldn't be how you feel starting high school. When you start high school, you should, like I was at the end of sixth grade, you should be into starting new things. I should have been on the tennis team, should have been more gung ho about the orchestra, other things. And I wasn't. All I was relieved I wasn't in middle school anymore. And finally relieved that the classes were long enough to pay attention in and things like that. It's so tragic that I
Yeah, it
was
is.
just it is. It is. But I mean I ended up hating high school too and wanted to just graduate early, and I did. But at first I was really comfortable in high school. Just so relieved. Is there anything I'm missing? Some detail I'm missing about the school news team? Maybe not much. It was just crazy. And the biggest thing I remember about it though, emotionally speaking, was
Paul, can you speak
not
up?
only, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing. All all of the student council for the next year, all three positions in student council were were the girls who were on WOCO. So we had vice president, treasurer, and secretary of the student council, all girls on the news team. And guess what? I ran for student council president in seventh grade. And from what I hear, I actually won the real vote. But for the other kids watching the teachers count the votes in the library, they said the teachers would counting the votes, kept seeing my votes, but just counted it for the other candidate and
What?
said I was an idiot. Yeah, the teachers, and I didn't want to demand a recount because I really didn't want to do it. But I know in my heart I probably won student council president. I don't know
Wow,
why. I don't know,
that
but
is
actually I do know
reminiscent of
why.
certain things. Yeah.
Well, well, I don't know why, but I do know why. If all three other positions were filled by girls on the school news team, why wouldn't student council president also be from the guy on the school news team? I mean, we were the most popular kids, like bar none. I mean, that's the power of TV. That's especially
Yeah,
the
that is
power
the
that
power of TV. That's true.
well before the internet,
Well,
especially.
before the, well, yeah, that's true. Although
Yeah,
this is kind of an extension of TV, though, I would say, in a way. I mean, it's a democratization of TV.
yeah, but now it's like on YouTube, you have a lot more power over the TV. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's a
hard
lot
it's hard to
more interface friendly, or user interface friendly.
oh,
Well,
oh,
I don't
for
know if
sure.
friendly is the word, but that's
Yeah.
the way you might term it. I do have to say, Paul, that we only have about 3 minutes left before our session ends, and we
Yeah,
purposely chose to do a 40-minute one today.
yeah, and we can definitely. I want to hear about your past experience with any television experience.
Yes, we'll
Um,
talk about that in the next episode.
yeah, and I also had a YouTube channel that blew up that we could talk about briefly, which was a mistake, but I think somewhat related to the middle school news team experience
Oh
in
yeah,
regards to in regards to just getting used to being an idiot on camera,
well
which
this
most
this
people would have some qualms against. I didn't. That's why my YouTube video thing blew up. But go ahead.
yeah. Well, don't listen. What is it? There's a we have a formula.
Uh-huh.
That is, you and I have a formula to pass the baton back and forth. What is it?
Back to you, Miles.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yes. Sorry, I have a lot of walkie-talkie walkie-talkie-age going on here.
Yeah, be sure you listen to that.
So yeah, nothing too major. So
Okay.
yeah, I definitely want to, now that we've heard a little bit about your history in the audio visual club, well, I mean in the school news, I think that we'd all be interested to hear about your history within YouTube specifically, because I
Okay.
myself, having
Yeah.
become familiar with this story, was pretty impressed by the gravity of it, emotionally especially. So I want to definitely cover that for our Pandooranauts. And then we'll have a chance also to talk about some of my background, both in the audio visual club type scenarios and also on YouTube in a more, I won't say professional, but advanced amateur capacity. We have less than
Hey,
1 minute left, so I do want to thank you, Paul, for joining me as a co-host on this episode of
I'm
Pandooradom,
gonna say
which
I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed just doing it, so I don't care about the view count numbers or anything. That's fun. That's all fine. It's been fun.
yes, absolutely. Well, it doesn't really matter how many views we get, but once we get more views